In this video, I'll discuss some disturbing new information about Bill Hinman's tenure at the SEC. We've now discovered a ton of various documents linking Bill Hinman to the free pass notion. But I'd like to offer you something new. That is very shocking. That will demonstrably show that various organizations, including the Ethereum Foundation, actively used Bill Hinman to influence SEC policy. I also want to explain a discussion I had today with a former SEC official on why cryptocurrencies are not securities. This man is currently a huge Bitcoin skeptic. But I want to show you that many of these people are aware that the SEC's stance on cryptocurrency is likely incorrect. You won't want to miss this conversation because it will open your eyes. So to begin this video, I'd like to discuss a very intriguing tweet by David Schwartz that explains his viewpoint on the SEC. Now, I find this to be really intriguing because I have been following this case and the cryptocurrency sector so carefully that I have drawn a lot of conclusions based on what I have observed about the various cryptocurrency companies. Yet, I am unable to speak with any of these many Bitcoin businesses since they are bound by law and are unable to discuss the SEC. Hence, it's really difficult to learn the truth about what's happening behind the scenes. The SEC simply refused to allow the various cryptocurrency companies that tried to follow its rules and get into a cooperative relationship with it, despite the fact that this is something that has recently been suggested and kind of been seen floating around the industry. The SEC's current response is that it is nonsense because none of these companies have attempted to enter. Instead, they are simply avoiding the regulations. And if they so desired, all of these businesses might come in and register. Simply put, they haven't done it. It's quite difficult to tell what's truly happening because of the divisive things we have been hearing. Obviously, I will never believe the SEC and will always believe cryptocurrency companies. But even so, it's fascinating to hear what people like David Schwartz have to say about how the SEC has handled Ripple and other similar cryptocurrencies. Evidently, the SEC can't inform you of the regulations, as David Schwartz tweeted earlier today. If they do, you'll merely follow their instructions. Now, this is a very intriguing tweet from him because it really goes to the heart of the SEC's major issue. The agency intentionally obscures the regulations. Since I never walked in and spoke with the SEC, it is clear that I never had the evidence to support that claim. But the fact that David Schwartz acknowledged this and tweeted it certainly supports a lot of the rumors. The SEC deliberately obfuscates the rules and withholds them from the public because if they were made explicit, all these various cryptocurrency companies would merely adhere to the standards, making it impossible for the SEC to bring legal action against them. The SEC is engaging in entrapment, as can be shown. They intentionally muddle the waters and make the regulations as vague as possible. In this manner, the SEC is able to pursue these cryptocurrency companies regardless of what they are doing. This enables the SEC to pursue the biggest players in the industry, as well as the most accountable ones, in an effort to deplete their bank accounts and drive them out of business. This is a significant factor in why the SEC hasn't been compelled to pursue true frauds. Because there are no regulations that anyone must abide by, the SEC need not. Even the most accountable, transparent, and greatest cryptocurrency companies, like Ripple, are unable to comply with the laws since they don't exist because the SEC hasn't made any standards explicit. Many of you are undoubtedly saying, "Michael, that's obvious," as you hear this. Since the beginning, we have known them. But what's crucial is that David Schwartz has now told us this directly. For example, we were informed of this by individuals like John Deaton. Also, we have heard this from other local attorneys. But ultimately, David Schwartz is a first-hand witness to what transpired at Ripple when they attempted to cooperate with the SEC. And it's astonishing to hear him admit straight out that making the rules as difficult to understand as possible has always been the SEC's goal. And since everyone is breaking the law, the SEC has the right to sue anyone. On a completely unrelated issue, I wanted to share this since it is one of the coolest moments of my career with XRP. You could call it, I suppose. Yet, I really tweeted David Schwartz in response to his comments and replied, "The SEC is a full and absolute embarrassment." I'm not really certain if it was this tweet either. However, it resulted in David Schwartz following me, which is fantastic. I'm obviously a huge admirer of XRP and Ripple, so it is obviously amazing to see this. It appears to have finally happened, which is what I was hoping would happen. It was, therefore, a cool experience for me. It's sad because the tweet that appeared basically consisted of me criticizing the SEC and David Schwartz asserting that the industry is being held back by a dishonest regulator. In either case, I'll accept the follow. I felt this interaction I had with a former SEC official earlier today was extremely cool, so I want to move on to that now. And every time I have the chance to speak with someone like this and truly enter their mindset, I discover that I have learned a lot about how the agency thinks. Mark is now a very respectable guy. He's a really kind man, and we have a lot to say to each other. He was also a former employee of the SEC. At this point, he tweeted. He effectively claimed that the entire cryptocurrency industry was a hoax in that tweet. After reading that, I kind of concluded that he is yet another SEC employee that despises all forms of cryptocurrency. I then replied to him. Then I questioned Mark. Mark, do you not believe it is creative to be able to transport money around the world in a matter of seconds for no fees? I recognize your skepticism over the use of cryptocurrency as a funding source. But the claim that the technology is a hoax perplexes me. He basically responded to my tweet by saying, "Alright, you're kind of right," in his reply. Although there are applications for cryptocurrency, I believe that 98% of such applications are probably exaggerated. In answer, I can't really contest that he may not believe that technology is all that significant. After all, it is his opinion. However, it appears that he at least acknowledges that the technology has certain uses. He stated 98% so. He clearly recognizes something with the technology. And I simply replied to that because I was tempted to quiz him a little. How can you believe that all of these tokens are fraudulent or a scam if you believe that technology has a use case and that the tokens also have a use case? What if they are all scams or frauds? What purpose does even mentioning their security serve? When it comes down to it, isn't it either a security and a legitimate token that you believe should be utilized in the financial system, or is it a fraud that we should just do away with? In any case, as I said, I believe the problem is that there are so many varied uses for tokens. Companies can use a token to support payments or any other network activity they like. Moreover, investors may buy a token to put money into the network. But I find it difficult to avoid comparing many of these crypto tokens to gold because I can purchase gold for jewelry making or as an investment in a certain cryptocurrency network. Perhaps you will purchase that cryptocurrency to access the network. There are numerous uses for it. And for this reason, the security concept is actually useless. Mark did, in fact, respond to this. You've struck on the largest issue I can envision, he continued. Now, gold has a proven use case as well as a proven market as a commodity. The majority of cryptocurrencies are issued using neither. It is entirely speculative and is predicated on the idea that these things might someday manifest. And in this case, he is actually right. The majority of cryptocurrencies are initially speculative when they are issued. They don't have a strong presence in the trading industry. They are also somewhat centralized and don't have many application cases. So I'm not stating that this is true for all cryptocurrencies at this time. And as you are all aware, I firmly believe that the majority of cryptocurrencies are not securities. Yet he is correct. If I were to create a coin tomorrow, it would definitely be rather centralized. There are probably not many applications for it. But I could design it so that it has those things. I could design it to be more decentralized and have a wider range of applications. I now agree with what he is saying, despite the fact that I believe it to be a bit severe. The main question, in my opinion, is whether something that is initially issued as a security might eventually transform into a hybrid like gold or possibly Bitcoin. Is there anything that can be done in the meantime to facilitate this? He asks. Congress should handle this, it seems. Mark is standing right here too. He might also be a little dubious about the technology. But that's probably just because he hasn't come across many successful projects. Mark understands that these cryptocurrencies will eventually reach a point where it is illogical to refer to them as securities. And that is where we stand right now. We are completely unsure of the point at which these cryptocurrencies transition from being securities to commodities that we do not require. Mark and I may disagree on this point because I believe it is insane for the SEC to sue good projects while there is regulatory ambiguity. But Mark has never done the research to determine which projects are good and which ones aren't. What's crucial to remember from this, though, is that I concur with the cryptocurrency scam tick Mark that these coins will probably starve off during a time of uncertainty. You can't really tell what they are actually. Nevertheless, they become commodities as they decentralize over time. The fact that Mark and I, two cryptocurrency enthusiasts and skeptics, reached the same conclusion over the course of about 6 tweets really highlights how pitiful our government is. If Mark and I had gotten together in a room and drafted some cryptocurrency regulations, we would have a functioning market in about a week, but the SEC and our government have refused to do this. It's also really awkward. This, in my opinion, just demonstrates that it is irrelevant whether or not this technology is worthwhile. That has nothing to do with the inability to develop a definition that is effective. It's really not that difficult, and it is possible. In actuality, this business is being held back on purpose by regulators and politicians. The fundamentals of cryptos are unrelated to this, and labeling it a security or commodity has nothing to do with it. And what has the SEC been doing in place of outlining precise guidelines that the entire sector may adhere to? They have attacked everyone else while picking winners and losers. Look at this email that Stephen Hubert just brought up. Also, this is brand new and has never been seen before. This comes from one of the top law firms working with the Ethereum Foundation, in fact. According to the subject line, this was sent to Bill Hinman and was addressed to him. You are now our golden ticket, so collect yours and meet Bill Hinman. The fact that Bill was used to get Ethereum in the door and that the SEC was then told to go after the rest of the industry and monopolize it could not be more plainly stated by this law firm. This is the challenge we have faced. The current court case has created waves because of this. And for this reason, Ethereum appears to be faultless. We've made assumptions about this and discovered all the documents. But nothing is more obvious than the fact that Bill concealed the key to granting Ethereum a free pass. And it's right in front of you on an official SEC email. I appreciate you coming, and I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, please make sure to like it and subscribe. It would be really appreciated.